Phoenix, Arizona. This housewife looks sweet and innocent, but looks are deceiving. This woman is coldly and methodically searching for someone to kill her husband. Not knowing where to start, she opened the yellow pages, and there she saw an ad that read, "Guns for hire." She thought this might be a quick way to find a killer.
Guns for Hire of Arizona Incorporated. We're a theatrical business.
Owner Lee Wilson was caught off guard.
At first, I actually thought that this was a legitimate call, that she was calling to try and book a show. All of a sudden, it started to dawn on me that this might be somebody who was actually talking to me about having her husband killed.
His next call was to the police. Now, Detective Jack Ballantyne, on the right, is posing as a contract killer. He meets with the woman, who by all accounts is a respected local citizen.
She was the socialite in the community, the Sunday school teacher, 2 great kids, a lovely family.
But today, she's got homicide on her mind. She makes it clear she's done her homework and doesn't want any slip-ups. So she's putting her hitman to the test.
It was a job interview, and I was having to convince her I was the person that could do it, and her questions were outstanding.
This lady checks her notes as carefully as if she were planning a party. Fortunately, Detective Ballantyne is very convincing as the dangerous killer.
I strongly urge you not to go backwards on it. I give you 100% authority to keep me off in any way you want if I don't get that money.
Now Ballantyne asks the all-important question.
Why do you want to do this anyway?
In a bizarre twist of logic, the woman explains that she's unhappy in her marriage, but she doesn't want to have to face the scandal of a divorce. Convinced that this woman is serious and deadly, Ballantyne gets ready to spring the trap.
How much money you got that you're going to be able to pay me? Today? Yeah, today. I almost said 2,000 minus 100.
With the money in place, they discuss the deadline.
Now, you want him dead by? Thursday, the 17th.
She hands over the money and her husband's picture. This seals the deal. It also seals her fate. Ballantyne steps away and gives the signal. A team of officers calmly approach and arrest her. This was definitely not part of her plan.
With all the questions on paper, numbered, and goes down the list one by one by one. That was the most outrageous thing I've ever experienced in this line of work.
When this pillar of the community set out to solve her marital problems, she made some foolish mistakes. But her biggest mistake wasn't just poor planning or mistaking a cop for a killer. Her biggest mistake was in thinking that murder might be a good solution for a bad marriage.
Canton, Ohio.
Yes!
Extreme rollerbladers love to get their sick moves on tape.
Yes!
But these thrill seekers are about to catch something wilder than any stunt.
Get off the steps now! I want the camera out! Who gave you permission? I need your name!
From out of nowhere, this self-appointed cop of the parking lot arrives to call cut on photographer Andrew Cleary.
I was blown away at how mad she was.
I want the camera out!
And I,
Who gave
for the life of me, couldn't figure out why she was mad.
Apparently, her red-hot anger has been boiling for years.
Don't give me the film and the camera! I'm better with you photographers! And you, Trent! You come here all the time!
I have never been here in my life.
That's a lie!
She sounded like her building was on fire, or someone had just shot her dog.
You've been told before not to come! I'm calling the police! Yes, I am! You come every couple of years and take illegal photographs!
Perhaps this loudmouth vigilante ought to get her facts straight.
What do you want? What the is the
I want the film! I want the camera!
Tell me.
Because her logic is a little loopy.
What did we do wrong?
You're one, trespassing! Two, illegal photograph! Three, you're not allowed! Four, you've been yelled at! You grow up!
Without any real evidence, the rageaholic can't make a citizen's arrest.
And take photography there! You can't!
The law? I don't understand.
No, you understand the law, you take advantage!
Unfortunately, when these skaters decided to turn on their camcorders,
Yes!
all they got was a close-up
Who gave you permission? I need your name!
of crazy.
Three, you're not allowed! Four, you've been yelled at!
It's not uncommon to have a man down in soccer. But at this friendly match between Costa Rica and Italy, the entire team has hit the deck. And the reason is a honey. They're under attack by a swarm of rogue bees. While nesting with their queen on one of the main cameras, the hive sends out stinging soldiers to assault the referee. One player attempts to shield the swarmed official in a flag, but this makeshift bee catcher only traps the winged warriors against the ref's body. One of the coaches trots to the referee's defense, but is also quickly overcome by the hyper hive. The only choice for both squads is retreat. A decision the panicked crowd adopts as well. Finally, the match is suspended until the swarm moves on. But the memory of this insect insurrection is unlikely to fade after generating such a massive buzz. DeKalb, Illinois. It takes a rare breed of professionals to control these motorized monsters. Janine Sostak and her children are right up front with a camera to catch the action.
The engine noise was very loud, and it was exciting. It was very energetic, and the kids were excited.
It was like, oh my gosh, that's how loud it was, because it was like vibrating the ground. It was like really loud.
Janine and her family assume the jockeys of these giants have it all under control. It's a tragic assumption.
All of a sudden, here it is coming at me in the street. And it's like, oh my God, we have to move, we have to move.
A hard off-center landing ruptures a key fluid line that turns the big-wheeled beast into a transformer of terror. The huge Hulk plows its way through the crowd and rolls past young Alex, missing him by mere inches. The truck finally comes to rest across a set of train tracks. Looking back, somehow Janine's own kids knew they were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
The kids, I think they had a sixth sense about that, because both of them, my oldest son and my eldest daughter, were saying, Mommy, I'm scared, what do we do?
But maybe Mommy should have trusted her kids' instincts. The buzzsaw behemoth mows down 9 people. Incredibly, all survive.
I have no idea to this day how everybody got out of the way in time.
Perhaps if adults and officials paid more attention to their clairvoyant children, they'd know there really are such things as monsters. Most employees do everything they can to avoid trouble while working. But some, like this bus driver in San Antonio, seem all too willing to tempt fate. Despite controlling an 8,000-pound vehicle in rush hour traffic, and even though he has 2 handicapped passengers on board, he decides to occupy his time on the road by texting his friends. 1 lane over, Betty Jo Hummel has just finished her own day on the job.
I was just happy to be off work and heading home, as I am every day.
But after she merges toward her exit, traffic gets caught in a snarl. And the distracted bus driver takes a detour to destruction. With less than 1 second of braking time, the barreling behemoth obliterates Betty Jo's SUV.
It felt like a bomb had gone off in my car. Usually in a wreck, you'll hear screeching brakes. There was no noise like that. No brakes. It was just a total bam. I was thinking, oh my God, am I gonna die?
Her vehicle and the van she's knocked into finally come to a stop.
Glass shattering, fumes from the airbags, blindness. I wanted to just get out as quick as possible.
A civilian comes to her aid and tells her to hold tight until paramedics arrive. The bad bus driver has no such concerns.
He seemed to be looking for that darn phone after the wreck.
By the time he finally gets to Betty Jo, cops are already on the way. And it's soon revealed that this isn't the texting troublemaker's first run-in.
Come to find out, he had had 3 prior wrecks. 3 with the same company.
But management installed these onboard cameras 2 weeks ago, a fact the driver seemed to forget.
In the police report, he claims that his brakes failed.
The next time this derelict picks up his phone, it's to get the call that he's been fired. Because when he was driven to distraction, his next stop was on the road to ruin. Whittier, California. TV reporters set up across the street from a crime scene. But suddenly, they get a new top story. A van's fleeing the scene of a nearby accident. The man in black tries to stop it and becomes hit and run target number 2. Veteran reporter Glenn Walker can't believe what he sees.
We were just about ready to go on the air. You could hear a collective gasp from maybe 25 people in that area when that happened. I was just like, oh my God. He just ran over that guy.
Glenn's crew jumps into action.
When the anchors threw it to me, I said, we'll get to that story in just a minute about the police officer, but I just want to let you know that we just witnessed this man getting run over by a van.
The rolled over man lies in agony with a crushed hip.
Everybody stand back, please. Get it on film?
Yeah, we got it on film.
This is the first time I can ever remember doing one story and something completely different unfolds right in front of my eyes.
And thanks to this footage, the driver's sentenced to 7 years.
It's like watching a train wreck. You could see that something bad was going to happen, and it did.
Mansfield, Ohio. Interstate 71. Highway Patrolman Christopher Wood pulls up behind fellow trooper Charles Farley. Farley's in the driver's seat, handling a traffic accident. He's about to become one. Trooper Wood approaches. He'll confer from the passenger side, just to be safe. Trooper Wood hears tires screech, just in the nick of time. The sports wagon bashes the patrol car. The trooper leaps back. One more step and he would have been crushed against the guardrail. The police car is totaled, but both officers survive. They get back to work, knowing that the road is never safe for a highway patrolman.
Daytona Beach, Florida. This exterminator is ridding an apartment of more than just pests. Hundreds of dollars in change collected by the tenant, Blair Harrison, has been mysteriously disappearing over the last few months.
I've been saving my change all my life since I was a kid, because that's the way I can save money. It adds up quite a bit, you know, and I use it for going home to see my family.
Hoping to catch the thief in the act, Blair decides to capture him on tape.
I thought a video camera would be appropriate, so I borrowed a camera, and I set it up in my room and my dirty laundry.
Blair hides the camcorder under a pile of socks and points it at his jars of change on the dresser.
See ya.
The stage is set, and Blair leaves for work. Later that morning, the rat takes the bait. Blair's exterminator is making a routine visit to the apartment. But instead of laying a trap, he walks right into one. The pilfering pest controller quickly stuffs his pockets with Blair's hard-earned cash. But he's not satisfied with just nickels, dimes, and quarters.
And I was like, wow, I was really shocked. It was more than I thought. I thought he was grabbing a handful of change, but he was going through all my drawers and going through the whole house, and you can hear him going to every room and checking everything out, you know, just rifling the drawers.
Then, in an attempt to cover his tracks, the crook shakes the jars to make them appear full. But no amount of shaking can hide the truth.
He took probably about $1,000 over the 5-month period that he was doing his job.
Blair shows his video evidence to a friend who works for the police department.
So I had a cop friend, and he came over, and he viewed it, and he said, well, you should bust him on this one. This is like, you know, he's a burglar.
Although the thief doesn't serve jail time, he does lose his business and his standing in the community.
It's ruined his life, his family, but I guess he should have thought of that before he started coming to rip us off.
Now that cameras are everywhere, crooks should take heed, because the eyes of the world might very well be upon them. Bath, England. A shotgun-wielding bandit takes control of a jewelry store, but not for long. As the other customers lie on the floor, off-duty police officer Chris Standen rushes the assailant, grabbing the barrel of his gun. But the robber overpowers Chris and violently slams him to the floor. With Chris in his sights, the outlaw pulls the trigger. Thankfully, the gun jams. Watch again. The brave officer tries to disarm the thief, but he's thrown down. Then, just when it appears he'll be shot, the weapon malfunctions. So the crazed man beats Chris with the shotgun. Despite the vicious blows, the heroic cop continues to fight back. Finally, he wrestles the gun from the thief, who makes a cowardly retreat.
I'm a police officer, and I mean, my wife thinks I'm exceedingly foolish, but no, I don't consider myself a hero. I like to think all police officers would have taken some action.
Chris keeps the shotgun as a souvenir of the day he stared down death and one. Chicago, Illinois. A fire has turned an apartment building into a raging inferno of smoke and flames. Annabelle Perez pleads helplessly from her third-story window. But she is concerned with more than just her own safety. She is 7 months pregnant. She and her husband Noel are trapped inside, gasping for air and desperate for a way out.
I thought the woman was going to die. Everybody was screaming and horrified. It was a very, very frightening experience.
Police can't wait for firefighters to arrive. They unfurl a blanket under Annabelle's window.
We were getting desperate. She looked like she was going to jump at any moment.
Annabelle panics as the fire consumes their small apartment. Choking on deadly clouds of smoke, she is determined to save the life of her unborn child.
We realized that if she didn't jump, she probably was going to be burned, possibly killed.
Police officers position the blanket beneath the window. There is no time to spare. Annabelle must jump to save her life. Noel lowers his wife slowly out of the window. Shockingly, she insists on falling headfirst. For what must seem like an eternity, Annabelle hangs upside down until her husband has no choice but to release her. The police grip the blanket tightly, but the impact is so severe, she smashes right through it and into the sidewalk. Firefighters begin to move a ladder into position for Noel, but the heat is too intense for him to bear. He jumps and makes it safely to the ground below. But Annabelle's condition is critical. She is rushed to the hospital, fearing for the life of her unborn child. Annabelle had no choice. She had to jump, or both she and her baby would have been burned alive.
I just remember thinking that we were gonna die. We were gonna get burned.
As Annabelle made the agonizing decision to jump, she prayed for the courage to do what was right for her unborn baby.
That's why I decided to go head first as well. Because if anything bad was to happen, let it happen to me first. And that way she could at least have a chance. You want to live, you want to survive, you do what's necessary. We were very blessed.
So blessed that she named her baby Milagro, Spanish for miracle.
She's my life. She's my best friend. I could go through anything as long as I have her on my side.
Ontario, Canada. 3 jailbirds chained together are about to make the worst prison break of all time. Bar none. The men clothesline themselves on a metal pole, slamming into each other and collapsing in a heap.
Okay. Are you gonna give up? I'm bleeding, man. That's too bad. Okay, I'm done.
The officers are not impressed.
You also have the right to be stupid.
But while the boys get their giggles, their crimes are no laughing matter. Already facing charges of assault and robbery, this brainless chain gang will be blocked by bars for years to come.
You guys are idiots.
A rape suspect is led into a holding cell by a single female deputy. It's March 11th, 2005, 8:45 a.m. And what you're watching is a chilling prelude to one of the country's most deadly courtroom shootings.
Flash news out of Fulton County, Georgia right now at this hour. There are reports that 2 people have been shot outside a federal courthouse.
How did this happen? I just kept saying, how did this happen?
Georgia attorney Sharon Reed spent almost 3 years researching the story of this tragic day. She's the author of Waking the Sleeping Demon, 26 Hours of Terror in Atlanta.
Brian Nichols was escorted from the holding cell in the basement of the Fulton County Courthouse by Deputy Cynthia Hall to a holding cell.
Nichols befriends 51-year-old Hall, who was assigned to guard him in 2 previous trials. Other deputies offer assistance, but they say Deputy Hall says she's comfortable enough alone with Nichols and declines any help. She brings the 33-year-old defendant to this confined space to change clothes for a retrial in his rape case. Hall removes one cuff and turns to remove the other when Nichols attacks, violently shoving Hall into another cell.
Brian Nichols overpowered Deputy Hall and severely beat her.
Off camera, Hall is brutally beaten. Within 4 minutes, Nichols grabs her gun, locks her in the cell, and changes into civilian clothes. He's about to begin a killing spree that will paralyze the city of Atlanta for 26 straight hours.
He walked calmly over to Judge Barnes's chambers in the old courthouse. Took 2 of Judge Barnes's staff hostage, then took 3 more people hostage and held them inside of Judge Barnes's office, inside his chambers.
9:05 a.m. Nichols barges into Judge Barnes' courtroom. He shoots the judge point blank in the back of the head and instantly kills him. This is an actual audio tape recording of the tragic shooting.
Then turned to shoot the prosecutor, realizing that the people sitting at the prosecutor's table were not the prosecutors trying his rape trial. Turned from those lawyers, shot the court reporter.
Court reporter Julie Brandow dies a few minutes later.
I was right outside the courtroom.
Ash Joshi is the prosecutor in Nichols' rape trial, one of the attorneys Nichols is looking for. He's making his way to the courtroom for Nichols' trial when he's stopped by the deputies.
Deputies were all yelling at me to get off the floor, and it was not at all a suggestion. It was a command to get off the floor.
Joshi would later realize just how lucky he was.
What if I had been in the courtroom, and what would Nichols have tried to do or done to me?
By now, Nichols runs outside. Sergeant Hoyt Teasley is right on his tail.
That deputy, however, did not know that anyone had been killed in the courtroom or that there were hostages.
Nichols shoots the officer 5 times and Teasley dies a short time later.
Everybody off the sidewalk!
Brian Nichols is armed and on the run. A major manhunt begins.
Police now on a massive manhunt for 33-year-old Brian Nichols.
He goes into an underground parking garage where he carjacks a deputy's car. He'd later carjack at least 5 others.
He would put a gun to them and order them out of their vehicles, take their vehicle, switch vehicles, and continue to switch vehicles.
One of the cars Nichols steals is a green Honda that belongs to this reporter. Nichols hits him over the head with a gun.
I think I'm extremely lucky to escape without being shot or thrown in the trunk.
This parking garage security camera captures Nichols casually walking down the stairs, apparently wearing O'Brien's blazer.
The story that we're covering for you, a major manhunt underway in Atlanta. And
the search for Brian Nichols is broadcast all day, and it appears there's no sign of the horror ending anytime soon.
At this hour, the Atlanta courthouse killer is still on the loose. Here's the latest right now.
11 p.m. Nichols is still the most wanted man in Atlanta.
He accosted the deputy, took 5 hostages, killed 3 people, carjacked 5 people, did all of that in a span of 30 minutes and resurfaced later that night after trying to take some more hostages.
Nichols strikes again. Federal agent David Wilhelm is the 4th victim. His body is found the next morning in his new home. His badge, gun, and truck are missing. Nichols' final hostage is single mother Ashley Smith, who he approaches outside her apartment.
I turned around and he was right there.
Smith says Nichols follows her to the front door and ties her up.
He said, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt anybody else, so please don't do anything that's going to make me hurt you.
All night, Smith says she reads passages from a book called The Purpose-Driven Life and talks to him about God and her family.
My husband died 4 years ago. And I told him that if he hurt me, my little girl wouldn't have a mommy or a daddy. And she was expecting to see me the next morning. And if he didn't let me go, she would be really upset.
Early the next morning, Nichols lets her leave her apartment to go see her daughter. She calls 911.
The victim is advising that he is in the apartment at this time.
Police quickly close in on the apartment complex. With Ashley Smith watching from behind a van across the parking lot, Nichols waves a white cloth and surrenders.
And he had nowhere to go. He was not getting out of that apartment with the SWAT team having him surrounded in the manner that they did.
It's a sigh of enormous relief for the people of Atlanta.
This person is no longer free and roaming our streets.
Crowds cheer as the police take Nichols away. Smith becomes a hero for helping Nichols surrender. She receives a $70,000 reward. In 2008, Brian Nichols is convicted on 54 counts, including murder and kidnapping. He's sentenced to multiple life sentences with no chance of parole.